trailing Andrew Tendrum by 14, so he's looking to top 8 this week or next. To start the game, it is a Shambling Vent from Harlan Fear and a Hissing Quagmire from Cho. Both players have switched over to the Sylvan Advocate build of the deck. Something I would definitely advocate right now.
That was a Sylvan thing to say. Yours is better. I'm off my game.
All right. For Harlan, so Shambling Vent into Basic Force. That feels like it's going to be a 2-3. And it will be. Plays Sylvan Advocate, and he'll pass.
Sylvan Advocate and the Shambling Vent is just a better creature land than Hissing Quagmire.
Yeah, definitely agree. In this matchup, it's going to be pretty close. The Death Touch will be relevant.
Right. Once they're online with the Advocate, though, the 4/5 lifelinking body matters a ton.
It is a Sylvan Advocate from Cho. Now, if Harlan has an untapped land, he has a free swing. Then it's a bluff that Josh can't take. He's going to block here. Now, if he had the third land, that's a lot dicier of a block.
Right, you get into Kolagon's command territory, something to that effect, or even just Abzan Charm to pump your guy.
Right. Instead, Harlan will play Needle Spires. A 1 of Needle Spires. We've seen that take the place of Nomad Outposts in a lot of these lists. And now Josh will swing back, and for him, he's not playing the land pre-combat either. And then he will Fiery Impulse to post-combat. I like that sequencing from Josh a lot.
Yeah, you hide the fact that you have that removal spell. You don't expect the block if you're representing Abzan Charm.
Right, so if Josh had played the land before attacking, Harlan probably would have let it happen, right?
Right.
But now that he didn't play the land...
You don't know if Josh has access to red, and also he only has 2 colors, so the odds of Josh playing a tap land on this turn are actually rather high.
Really heads-up move. Going back to Harlan, he does draw the 4th land on turn 4, and maybe we'll see a Rhino. I think Josh's follow-up to that impulse was another Sylvan Advocate. Yeah, so here's Impulse Advocate, and now there is the Rhino for Fear. That will undo the damage that Josh did. Josh down to 16, we pass back. Choices for Cho. He's going to fetch Windswept Teeth. He has Rhino and Crackling Doom available.
Yeah, you have a choice between getting expressly aggressive on this turn or just waiting it out. No matter what you tag with Crackling Doom is going to be something relevant. So getting more power on the board first seems better than me, especially since we don't know when or even if those Advocates are going to become 4/5s.
Yeah. What I know when I've been playing the matchup is it frequently feels like the player who gets to start resolving Dark Dwellers first is often ahead. Josh doesn't take a very aggressive line, though. He will Crackling Doom away the Rhino, swing with the 2 Advocates, and Harlan will join him at 15.
Yeah, if Harlan is just kind of stuck here and doesn't have any follow-up, this line is a lot better than just playing the Siege Rhino.
A land and another Rhino for Harlan. He's land 5. He has Dark Dwellers in hand, but nothing in the yard just yet. Draw for Cho is Roast. Pretty good timing for it.
Yeah, if we want to just keep being aggressive, then the Roast does exactly that.
Land 5 is Shambling Vent for Cho. Here's Roast on the Rhino.
Yeah, and you also know that Harlan has 5 mana, but he can't meaningfully cast a Dark Dwellers.
Yeah, well, there's the worry that if Josh just plays land 6, this is so bad for Harlan. So he's going to use Kolagon's command to get back Advocate, play it. I believe he shocked Josh Cho, and there is land 6 off the top. Josh just has to fan himself off for how good of a draw that was.
Oh yeah, that was super good, especially with the Shambling Vent last turn. Now
wow.
Just 3 creatures rumbling in for 4, no risk of any of them dying this combat.
4/5, 4/5, 4/5, a 2 on Harlan's side. You can put Harlan down to 2. Josh has a Rhino in hand. So if you wondered why Mardu Green suddenly became a great, if you made it, why Mardu Green rose to the top of the format is when people figured out that instead of playing Soulfire Grandmaster, they should be playing Sylvan Advocate, the deck really got a step up. And I think it really shows in this draw right here.
Yeah, Grandmaster was kind of big when you were playing against a lot of red decks, when you wanted to gain as much life as possible. But now you just want to have a lot of large creatures in play. And Advocate is not only a large creature by itself, but also just makes those creature lands matter all the much more.
Should correct ourselves, and Harlan had to discard his Siege Rhino to Kolagon's command that last turn. Nonetheless, Harlan is at 2, Josh up to 16 from that Shambling Vent. Now, Harlan just has to pass. I don't know that he can take 2 Dark Dwellers in a duress. That's And Josh will shoot a Kolaghan's Command upstairs, and that's game 1 over to Joshua Cho.
Yeah, from 2 life, there's really nothing that Harlan could do there. Had the option to cast a Dark Dwellers, but all it would do is put a Siege Rhino back in his hand, still dead to 3 creatures on the table.
So we'll go ahead and look toward the sideboard. We're going to start with Harlan Fear, who's down a game. He's got some Hallowed... This is interesting here. It's some Hallowed Moonlights. We'll correct that one here. It's not siding into blue-white dual lands. But Hallowed Moonlights, Transgress the Mind, Den Protector, and Offense of the Foremost, Radiant Flames, Kolaghan's Command, and Chandra Flamecaller.
So getting that second Chandra Flamecaller is going to be huge here. You want as many Haymakers as you can get. The Transgress the Minds that he was down against Josh as well are going to be very important to tag those Dark Dwellers before they're ever cast, maybe try to find the Chandras. And then Den Protector I like quite a lot as well. For as much as this game is about getting fat into play, having recurring value and being able to get back your removal spells that deal with your opponent's creatures also matters quite a lot.
Yeah, I definitely agree with a lot of that. Transgress is big. The second Chandra is somewhat take it or leave it. Actually, in this matchup, Chandra's bad at killing things. She's good at killing opponents, so she's fine. I think Den Protector is his main card here, though.
Yeah, it's absolutely true that Chandra is going to struggle to kill things like Siege Rhino and 6-land Sylvan Advocate. So yeah, Chandra, maybe I think you're probably right, though. I would like having 2 copies, and part of that is that it can't die to things like Abzan Charm as well, though you're certainly right. Now,
on Josh Cho's side, he's got another Soulfire, a Painful Truths, Kalitas, Roast, Despise, and 2, I believe this is Palace Siege. Normally we see Outpost Siege in the sideboard of this deck.
Yeah, Palace Siege is a pretty neat card. You can use that. It costs black 3, and I imagine the mode that we're going to be using is the mode to raise dead on all of your upkeeps.
Maybe.
We could also train our opponent for 2.
This is interesting. So I was gonna say I was surprised to see no Outpost Sieges or Utter Ends in the players' sideboards, because frequently that's what the mirror is about. Now we frequently see something like Obnixilis in the sideboard. Palace Siege seems to me to be what Josh has chosen instead of Obnixilis, and it seems like it should be fine here.
Yeah, and given the particular pace of the game, you could see either of those 2 modes being extremely relevant. If your Siege Rhinos and your Crackling Dooms get your opponent down to a low life total early, then yeah, just set the mode to drain the life. Otherwise, recurring the creatures will be huge.
All right, so we've been talking about Shadows over Innistrad. Well, right after that comes out, you know what that means. That means we are going to have the Star City Games State and Provincial Championships. This is April 23rd and 24th. So just coming up in a month, they're the weekend of the Pro Tour, which means they're right after release weekend. So get your Shadows over Innistrad cards, sleeve them up, build your decks, and then if you want to test them out and see just how good they are, maybe you've broken the format, take it out to your state championships. These are at all 62 locations across the U.S., Canada, and Puerto Rico. You see that here. You can find them. So any of the Canadian provinces, the U.S. states, if you're in one of the really large states, California, we have a northern and southern states, for example, for that one. An exclusive metal playmat pin for the top 8. You see we have limited edition prints. These are given out to players while supplies last. At the same time, it's an invite for the champion to the Star City Games Invitational coming up. For the standard top 8, we get the Past City playmat. That was one you see on the left. On the right is the Future City playmat for the modern top 8. You also get the art print just for registering as long as supplies last, so you're going to want to register for that in advance. Also, there are tokens as door prizes, so make sure to show up. And these are customized for each event. You see that it'll be, depending on what state you're in, you will get your state's token as well. So a lot to play for. Find out more here. This is the Star City Games State and Provisional Championships happening in just a month. StarCityGames.com/states.
Yeah, those are pretty awesome tournaments. I always like to make it out to those. See Eric Hawkins win the Minnesota Championship.
He is the current, I think he is the defending champion at the moment.
The last state championship, I don't remember what state it was. I know that Chris Anderson won a Saturday and Sunday back-to-back.
John Morawski making it to the Players' Championship last year on the back. He was the regional or state champion from the New England area, I believe 3 of the 4 seasons last year.
That's impressive stuff.
Yeah, it was. He made the finals some 4 or 5 times. It was great. He just dominated those and took him all the way to the Players' Championship. Game number 2 underway. Harlan Fear down a game with Mardu Green. We'll start out by trading some creature lands. Needle Spires for Harlan. Shambling Vent for Josh. Then a Cinderglade for Harlan. See if he has that black mana. I believe he does in the form of Smoldering Marsh. We're going to get to see, though, does Transgress the Mind So Sylvan Advocate, Crackling Doom, Goblin Dark Dwellers, and a land.
Big difference even in the early turns of this game as we see that Harlan is led on tap land, and his intention to play another tap land on the next turn, where Josh just has action on turn 2.
And this is where I think you see players, I'd be surprised to see Josh take the Doom. It's generally just you take the Dark Dwellers and then your ability to out-kill spell your opponent is greater.
It is notable that the Doom would be exiled by the Transgress, so the Dark Dwellers would kind of just be a 5-mana nothing until Harlan finds something for it. But
you are right. Taking a 5-drop against someone who only has 3 lands is paying dividends, but very far down the road.
Right. Also, if Josh is able to cast his own Dark Dwellers before Harlan's able to fire his off, he could just rebuy that Transgress and hit it. Though he does go with the Dark Dwellers.
That signals that Josh wants to just dig in and trade a lot of kill spells here. Maybe Josh has a Crackling Doom next turn. Harlan will play Advocate and the land that we knew he had.
Yeah, if Josh isn't planning on casting any creatures, then the Doom isn't very important to him.
Yeah, I mean, if he has enough lands to build up to his own Dark Dwellers, this is a fine game plan. You see a Roast in Cho's hand. I play a land and pass the turn. That feels like there might be a Crackling Doom hiding out.
Yep, that's certainly an option. Also could just be hanging on to the Roast to deal with a Siege Rhino down the road.
Here we go. Second Advocate with it on the stack. Yeah, Josh Cho will Crackling Doom. Just wants to make sure he gets the one that can attack.
Yeah.
Well, the other Advocate will resolve. Did Harlan hit lands? That's the question.
I believe his draw was another Sylvan Advocate, which is fine. He can cast it, but less good than a land to be sure.
Yeah, he has Crackling Doom. It looks like Crackling Doom, Kolagon's Command, and Siege Rhino left in hand. But no land. This is a poor spot for Harlan. If Josh gets up to Dark Dwellers first and has them in hand, this is going to be lights out.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult to recover.
It's why Dark Dwellers are so important in the mirror. It just pulls you so far ahead. You see now Roast for the Advocate. This is the game plan that Josh signed up for when he took the Dark Dwellers off Transgress.
Yep, and it's certainly working out so far.
Keeping the board clean. Josh at a healthy 19 and hitting land drops. So for Harlan Fear, the draw was a land. It was a Wooded Foothills. Here's land 4.
We're in Rhino territory.
Yes, we are. I imagine we'll be seeing one. Here's the Siege Rhino. Harlan back to 20, Josh down to 16. And Harlan has some ability to play grindy magic here. He does have that Kolagon's Command in hand.
Yeah, could get the Rhino back or just one of the Advocates.
And if you go back to the Transgress the Mind, this is why I think Josh has to take the Dark Dwellers. If the Crackling Doom is gone, Harlan has plays where his Kolagon's Command is rebuying Siege Rhino, and then his Dark Dwellers is rebuying Kolagon's Command, and suddenly Harlan's doing lots of things. And
right. With the information given, the Dark Dwellers could recast the Kolagon's Command or something like, or whatever spell that he saw, but there's a lot of spells in the deck that can just buy the Dark Dwellers.
And speaking of Dark Dwellers, mentioned it before, Josh on curve, turn 5 Dark Dwellers, hits the Crackling Doom, takes care of the Rhino. This is perfect for Cho.
Yeah, that's exactly what he wanted to do there.
Play a kill spell on turn 2, 3, 4, and then turn 5, play a Dark Dwellers into a kill spell. Seems good.
That's exactly what this deck wants to do every game.
Just
be nice to have an Advocate peppered in there with the 2 creature lands, but
it means we don't get to. Then how do we cast Transgress?
Right. We just never had time.
Yeah, just too busy killing everything. And for Harlan, he drew land 5. It's into play tapped. His hand is Crackling Doom, Kolagon's Command. So he'll have an answer to these Dark Dwellers. Sylvan Advocate is the play for Josh Cho. If Harlan Doom wants to Crackling Doom, he needs to do it now. And he'll hit the Dark Dwellers before the Advocate comes down.
Saves 4 points this turn, though. On the next turn, that Advocate threatens a
It's
lot
big,
more damage.
Yeah. Well, now that that's been taken care of, oh, wow. Kolagon's Command. Harlan discards his last card. Josh Cho rebuys the Dark Dwellers. This is what happens when one player starts to get ahead in this matchup, is it just snowballs.
Yeah, that was a huge swing.
Now, Harlan, with a great draw, it was Transgress. He takes the Dark Dwellers before Josh can recast. So it's a save, I guess?
Yeah, that was kind of what Harlan needed, but he's still way behind on board.
He's taking 8. There's an Advocate and a Shambling Vent, and he has no cards.
Yeah, also Cho is going up to 17 if the vent attack is the play.
Yeah, Josh down to 12 here on a fetch. The problem is that Harlan needs to draw 3 kill spells next turn, and you only get 1 card.
Well, I could top deck Ancestral Recall.
It doesn't have blue.
Oh, yeah, that's an issue.
We're not a blue deck. You could, yeah, it's...
So, yeah, we're not even on 6 mana, and even if we could cast Chandra, it wouldn't even kill the Advocate.
Well, it's why Dark Dwarf is so important. This deck is very powerful, but it really doesn't have the ability to play 2 spells in 1 turn very often. And its only way to play 2 spells in a turn is the card Goblin Dark Dwellers. It's its easiest way to do that.
Right. Yeah, on 5 mana, you can't really cast 2 good spells.
Yeah, maybe once you can maybe play Advocate, Crackling Doom, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, Harlan down to 10 on that attack. He's facing another one next turn. With a land, it might be 2 attacks. Land number 8 from Josh Cho. Well, Harlan's empty-handed. Actually, Josh just has him dead, I believe.
Yeah, Harlan has a Needle Spires that can chump block, but that's not a very exciting proposition.
Yeah, these creature lands and Advocate, it is this dimension to the deck that has made it good now. And Josh just, you know, Soulfire Grandmaster would not be the same in this situation.
No, Grandmaster's...
It'd be good.
Yeah, Grandmaster's neat. You can double up on your removal spells or rebuy them kind of perpetually, though they don't give you nearly as much power.
I mean, Josh is just killing him with the Advocate.
Right.
Fear down to 2 on that attack. Needle Spires trades away with Hissing Quagmire. Harlan needs a kill spell for both Shambling Vent and Advocate. Windswept Heath won't do it. Joshua Cho, 2 games to 0, takes the Mardu Green Mirror.